Hi, Ellen. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Ron, for having me.
Absolutely, you're welcome. So, tell us what your story's title is.
The name of my story is called I Know What Cold Is.
Sounds good. All right, well, ready whenever you are.
Okay, here we go. Simon, I'm ready to go back to Lotz. Are you coming? Isaac asked. We need to get back to Lotz before we are caught and shot. Isaac, I'm coming, Simon said. Okay, I will meet you at the train station. Isaac's and Simon's families left Pultusk, Poland, 48 hours before on orders of the Gestapo, the Nazi secret police. In their haste, the families left necessities behind and sent the two young men back to town to retrieve them. That was September 28, 1939. The Nazis had invaded Poland on September 1st, and the Gestapo was working its way through every town to force the Jews out. Pultusk was next. It was a beautiful city with a castle built by Napoleon in the 18th century. It was dark and curfew had started. Isaac went to the train station while Simon packed up a few more things. On his way to the station, Isaac's life changed forever. As he hurried along the shadows of the buildings, he saw a German soldier approach a young man who was standing in the square. The soldier shouted in German, "Boy, are you a Jew? There is a curfew and no Jews are to be outside after dark." Isaac understood German, so he knew things were quickly going bad. The young man lifted his arms in a "don't shoot" gesture and, terrified, responded in Polish, "I do not understand your question." Isaac heard the fear in the man's voice and saw the rage in the soldier's eyes. He hurriedly slipped into a doorway and watched as the soldier screamed, "Juden!" and shot the young man point blank in the head. The man collapsed in a pool of blood and died instantly. When the soldier went to get help to remove the body, Isaac rushed to the man and found his identification. His name was Henryk Karpensky, and he was 21 years old, the same age as Isaac. Isaac knew what he had to do. He switched his IDs with Henrik's, so now Isaac Borenstein was dead, and Henryk Karpensky was on his way to the train station. Henrik realized he had one more errand to do at Napoleon's castle, where the Gestapo had set up headquarters. He swiftly and deftly completed his last task and left his hometown, never to return. Henrik caught up with Simon at the train station, and they rode back to Lotz in silence. By the time they arrived, word had spread about a fire in Pultusk that engulfed the castle. The buildings burned to the ground and everything was lost. The Jews in Lotz were forced to live in what became known as the Lotz Ghetto, the second largest Jewish ghetto in Poland. Henrik, his brother Julius, and wife Saba decided to leave Lotz before the Nazis closed the city. They said goodbye to their family and embarked on a journey that would take them to the coldest, most desolate place on planet Earth, Siberia. They boarded a train to Minsk, Belarus, having been told they could transfer to another train that would take them to Helsinki in Finland. The country was not yet in the war. As the three Polish Jews got off the train, Stalin's soldiers were waiting to arrest them and others who were leaving their countries to escape the Nazis. They were immediately transferred to another train that took them to Siberia, to a gulag, one of Stalin's many corrective labor camps, where they were imprisoned for the next 6 years. Stalin's soldiers separated family members, so Saba moved to the women's camp, but Henrik and Julius weren't separated because of that crucial choice Henrik made in the town square when he switched IDs. He was no longer Julius's brother. That was miracle number one. Henrik was a leather craftsman by trade. He designed and made shoes, handbags, wallets, and luggage that was sold in the family business. A year before, Henrik had made a fine leather bag with hidden pockets and a false bottom. It hung in the store window for months. On his way out of town, Henrik took it with him to Lodz, and the three hid their life savings in that satchel. When they were arrested, the soldiers took it, and it was never seen again. 50 years later, Henrik and his daughter visited Julius in Stockholm, where he moved after the war. Julius had severe dementia and lost his ability to speak. However, when Henrik walked into his apartment, Julius took one look at him and asked Isaac, "Where is the bag with our money?" As the war raged in Europe, winter raged in Siberia. Henrik and Julius were prisoners for 6 torturous years in the Siberian Gulag. Their job was to lay railroad tracks all day, every day, no matter how hot or cold it was. At times, it was so cold that spittle would freeze before it hit the ground. Henrik saw fingers freeze and crack off prisoners' hands. He witnessed prisoners exchange their last piece of bread for a cigarette. Prisoners trying to escape from the camp were chased by guard dogs who ate them right there in the snow. Henrik saw a guard beat a prisoner to death without any consequence. On this occasion, Henrik stood in a food line with the other prisoners for hours. Behind him, the guard was beating a prisoner till he screamed in pain and collapsed. When the guard turned away, Henrik picked up a 2x4 and smashed it across the guard's skull. The guard fell to the ground dead. No one said a word. In 1945, the Nazis invaded the Soviet Union. Stalin forced the prisoners to don uniforms and join the Russian army to fight the Nazis on the Russian front. One day, Henrik was marching with his troop when they happened upon another troop of soldiers coming toward them. A soldier from the other troop approached Henrik and pulled him out of the line and shoved him in front of his officer. Henrik was convinced he was going to be shot right there in the forest. Henrik and the officer stared at each other. While there was no outward sign of recognition between the two men, Henrik realized this man was his brother-in-law, Nathan. No one spoke. Nathan then demanded that Henrik become part of his troop. This, Henrik knew, was miracle number 2. Nathan saved him from being marched to a Soviet death pit. Henrik and Julius were in Tehran, Persia when the war ended. Then miracle 3 happened. Julius found his wife Saba in Tehran town square. They hadn't seen each other since she was moved to the women's camp years earlier. Europe was desolate and chaotic, devastated and ruined by war. Henrik's family, who survived Lodz, Nathan, and Julius and Saba eventually immigrated with the other survivors to Palestine, which had not yet become the country of Israel. Henrik, however, did not. He wanted to go to America, to Chicago in particular. He heard stories about Al Capone and that Chicago was the center of the United States, that it was a thriving manufacturing town. Henrik was in Munich working the black market when he heard that Florsheim Shoes was recruiting craftsmen for jobs in Chicago. He applied and was hired. He bought a one-way ticket on a huge ship, took his few belongings, and sailed in steerage to America. Miracle number 4, Henrik and his family survived the Holocaust. Henrik married and they raised 2 daughters. He never said anything to anyone about his time during the war. When stories about the Holocaust would come on TV, he would go to his workroom and he would spend hours cutting leather for crafts that he made and sold in Maxwell Street. Henrik didn't drive, so he and his family would walk or take the CTA everywhere. After family gatherings, they would walk the 10 blocks home. On chilly nights, his little daughters would beg him, "Daddy, it's so cold out. Please, can we take a cab? Please, can we take a bus? It's so cold." His response was always, "This is not cold. I know what cold is, and this is not cold." Henrik lived till he was 89 years old. He was my father. I tell his story because he could not. But before he passed, he did share with me the miracles I spoke of. When I put all the pieces of his life together, I realized that my legacy as his daughter is to tell his story so it is not forgotten, and share these miracles with the hope that it leaves you with something special that you didn't have before you heard it. Thank you.
Wow, thank you for sharing your father's story, Ellen. That was amazing. Loved hearing it.
Thank you, Rod. Happy Fluxcore, everyone.
Happy Fluxcore.
Happy Winter Wonderland awakening.